Good morning and welcome to our October 19th Board of County Commission meeting. And this morning we're going to call to order and begin with an invocation from Rabbi Matthew Durbin from Temple Bayet Hayam. And the invocation will be followed by a Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be brought to us by Captain Jason Ward from the U.S. Army. He's a veteran and served from 1990 to 93 as an infantryman and graduated the Army Airborne School, which is a great accomplishment in itself, and Air Assault School. So not only is he a veteran, he also serves our Martin County Sheriff's Office. So thank you for being here, Jason.
If it appears that I'm 5 inches taller than normal, I am.
3.
Good morning.
I just want to say what a huge honor and tremendous privilege it is to address you all here this morning. Our places of business could not be any closer to one another. As I found myself driving around this morning trying to find a parking spot and thought to myself, why didn't I just park in my office? I'm literally across the street. But good morning. Tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. In Judaism, we have a phrase that says, justice, justice shall you pursue. And justice, along with love and compassion, is chief among God's moral attributes, and therefore chief among the qualities God demands of human beings in their conduct towards one another. Make no contradiction between these two principles, for justice, it has been said, requires that human beings should be respected, should be loved, that human needs need to be satisfied. But the converse is also true. And it is a matter of justice that we should love our neighbor no less than we love ourselves. So to be just is to be angry when justice is violated. To be just is to choose just means to right wrongs. To be just is to wish that the guilty be convicted and the innocent acquitted. To be just is to withhold judgment until facts are all known. To be just is to listen to all opinions. To be just is to give every person the benefit of the doubt. To be just is to demand justice for others as well as yourself. And to be just is to demand justice for other people as well as our own. To be just is to desire that the rights of all shall be respected. And to be just is to desire that the needs of all shall be satisfied. To be just is to disbelieve that the rich deserve to be rich and the poor deserve to be poor. To be just is to disbelieve that the successful are to be more respected than the unsuccessful. To be just is to reverence the divine image in each and every human being. To be just is to work for a society in which these ideals are realized. Be with us, O God, as we strive to do your will. Teach us to see that men and women among us are our brothers and sisters, and fill us with the ardent love for all of your creatures, that we may never wrong them, nor exploit them, or take advantage of anyone's weakness or ignorance. O eternal God, let us feel your presence and do and prepare to do your will. May our presence dwell among us, drawing us to serve you with a free and open heart, full of grace and compassion, love and justice. May the aims that we set for ourselves and the means by which we choose to implement them accord with your will. Make us cautious, God, of our responsibility as leaders of our community, by the examples that we set, by the policies that we adopt, and may we help each and every one of our members of our strong and amazing community here in Martin County understand our heritage, our history, and our own sacred narrative. Grant us, O God, the wisdom to build on past achievements, the humility to learn from past mistakes, and the courage to think new thoughts and to consider new ideas. May we listen to each other with respect, and may we judge each other with charity, and may our controversies only be for your sake. Through your faithfulness, may the cause of goodness prosper in the world. Guide us with wise counsel. Establish the work of our hands, now and forever. Amen.
Good morning. Let's honor our beloved flag together, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. On our agenda this morning, we have two additional items. We have consent 18, a resolution authorizing the Board of County Commissioners of Martin County to participate in a joint Treasure Coast Tri-County meeting. And then we have consent 19, request by Shadow Lake Groves Martin Gateway Center to rescind the Martin Enterprise Park Master Site Plan. We have one consent pull we're going to vote on separately, and that is a contract that meets the threshold for board approval. So with those additional items, excluding consent number 1, if we could have a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam Chair, move approval of the agenda with the additional consent items with the poll of consent item 1. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And we have another exciting morning of proclamations and presentations this morning as well. So our first presentation of a proclamation will be commending Michael Lovett upon the achievement of his Eagle Scout. Laura, would you like to introduce the item?
Yes, Michael J. Lovett of Troop 802 is congratulated for his achievement in attaining the rank of Eagle Scout and commended for his service to his community now and in the years to come. And here to talk a little bit about what he did for this is Michael Lovett, and he's got his family here in support.
Morning, Michael.
Morning, everybody. Morning. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you to you all for holding this for me and for recognizing my achievement. And I also wanted to talk about for a little bit how scouting isn't really just like, people think of scouting as just like a group where you send your kid off to go learn how to set up a tent or learn how to make a fire. It's not that. It's a whole lot more. It's not just something you do on weekends, be a little weekend warrior, go down to Tanakita and roast marshmallows. It's a lifestyle. And the people who do it, some of my closest friends, I've known them since first grade. We all went in this together, and we're all going to eagle out together. And so I wanted to take the time to say thank you to you guys for supporting scouting. And my mom told me that you guys only do proclamations for Eagle Scouts, and I think that that's really special, considering that Eagle Scouts, only 4 in 100 Eagle Scouts obtain that rank in 1 year. So there's 96 other kids who give up. And Eagle Scout, obtaining that rank, just, for me, I've seen people obtain it, and now that I get to do it, it kind of like shows that you never give up. And it's just, that applies for life. Anything else you do, you just never give in. Never fold, never break. Always just trudge through. Just get down and dirty with it, as my dad would say. And forgot about that. Okay, so my project was I refinished outdoor furniture for the Children's Museum on Sewell's Point, and I recoated their outdoor furniture with the same paint they use at marinas to protect all the furniture from weather wear, from the salt air, the humidity, all the elements. So now it won't corrode away. It'll always be there for other kids to enjoy. Because I remember when I was a kid and I used to go out there and enjoy that for summer camps because my mom would send me. And I never wanted to go. Never. Never wanted to go.
Oh, the truth comes out now.
And
I realized you loved it.
so it felt great doing that for the same organization that I got to play as a kid. And I remember having a bunch of fun there, getting in trouble playing with the cannon too much. So yeah, that's what I did for my project. Thank you.
Michael,
Michael, stay up here.
we're gonna take a picture, and I wanted to say too that Commissioner Campy and I had a chance to attend your commendation ceremony and court of honor ceremony, and you just mentioned this. You know, some of those young men that you've been since first grade. Coming up with, and you said it that night, and I thought that was very endearing of you, and it shows what a leader you are. That you're all going to eagle out together. You're going to work with them until they eagle out too. So it really displays qualities of a leader. And congratulations,
Thank you.
Commissioner Campy.
Michael, 2 questions for you. How old are you?
I'm 15 going on 16.
And what grade are you in?
I'm in 9th grade at Martin County High School.
Go Tigers.
Uh-huh.
You got there really early as an Eagle. I know some people that are squeezing right at 18 and just struggling and frantically trying to get done. You have to be done by the time you're 18. So I've been to a lot of courts of honor, and you have 2 recognitions. One, you're the first Eagle in Troop 802, correct?
Yes, sir.
In a new troop, so congratulations. Your name will be first on that board forever. And 2, for you to be able to become Eagle that quickly shows your drive, and I really love the fact that out of everyone you could quote during this speech that you gave, you quoted your mother and your father. So I think that's remarkable. So let's take a picture with you.
I did. That could be a giant, I mean, it's tall enough as it is. But I don't need extra porches.
Oh, no.
Jen, come on, everybody.
Wonderful job. Congratulations.
We can send you our version.
My friend's gonna take one. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it. Okay. Congratulations. Congratulations, Mom. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. All right. My glasses. All right. 1, 2, 3. Keep smiling. Couple more.
Now one of everybody pointing at the eagle.
No pressure.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you. That was good.
See that? He can't help himself.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. And our next proclamation, we are going to need a motion first to adopt this one. It's to present a proclamation recognizing Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Martin County.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries unanimously. All right, so now we can move on to presenting it. Laura, would you like to introduce the item?
Each year in the United States, more than 10 million women and men experience physical abuse by their intimate partners, with many experiencing repeat abuse over the course of years. During October, recognized as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, the board expresses sincere appreciation for those committed to promoting peace and preventing domestic violence in our community. And here to accept from Safe Space, there's a lot of folks here, but Dr. Teresa Albizu and Jamie Bellamy. And we're going to have, I think everyone's going to come up as well.
No, they won't possess.
And then at the end, we'll take a photo out in front of the well.
Karen.
Doug Smith, you will be out here soon with some you got him on. Edward, Harold,
We'll take a picture at the end with everyone out there.
standing over here.
I'm pretty
Good
proud I put
morning.
my leg up that high.
Good Good morning, commissioners, guests. My name is Dr. Teresa Alviso, and I'm honored to serve as Chief Executive Officer of Safe Space. I am accompanied here today by a team of expert advocates from Safe Space, along with members of the Board of Directors, Tom Bacadol, Mike Lafreniere, Joanne Willenbacher, Dan Pimpo, and our advocates, Mackenzie Baker, Linda Weixner, member of the board, thank you, Agnes Lambert, our IFP attorney, Katie Klub, Christy Conway, Charles Trujillo, lead IFP attorney, Claudia Hood, advocate, and Sharon Stagner, our HR manager. Thank you. So we thank you for recognizing this important and serious issue that we are addressing here on the Treasure Coast. I wish I was here today to share with you that the incidence of domestic abuse is decreasing, but in reality, the opposite is the reality. We must recognize that domestic violence has been a pandemic long before the COVID-19 outbreak, and that these public health issues has only exacerbated the incidence of intimate partner violence. We should not and cannot remain silent about how members of our communities are being impacted by these criminal acts. During fiscal year 2021, Safe Space provided services to 157 residents of Martin County, comprised of 105 women, 18 men, and 34 children. These individuals received close to 1,900 outreach program services from our domestic violence advocates, including our Invest advocate who specializes in servicing victims at risk for high mortality. We believe that it is time to stop the silence and openly address the overall impact that domestic violence has on our society and how we should address this historically taboo subject. In addition to the obvious humanistic and psychological impact on the victims, there is an enormous economic impact on society from domestic violence. We estimate that the cost of domestic violence in Martin County alone exceeds $14 million per year. And this estimate considers the incidence of reports by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the associated medical costs, mental health services access, the loss of employer productivity in the workplace, and law enforcement costs. And this should not be a surprise to us, right? When we consider that in this great nation that we live in, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. That's 20 people per minute every single day. And that an average of 3 to 4 women lose their lives at the hands of their intimate partner every single day. So I believe we should all agree that violence is wrong and must be prosecuted accordingly. Not only are the direct victims impacted, but also family members, the taxpayers, our economy, and the smallest and most vulnerable, our children. This is a very, very big societal, national, and economic issue that we all have a role in eradicating. And who else could speak better of this but our state attorney, Tom Bacadol?
You do that so well, Tom.
So I got a lot of forewarning. When I walked in, Teresa said, would you please address the board? And so I really, as I listened to Rabbi Durbin open this session with you, I couldn't think of more appropriate topic, which is a topic of justice. And I can tell you now, entering my 5th year as a board member for Safe Space, it's one of the most rewarding things that I've done in my career. And the reason for that is we do have an opportunity in this particular organization to do justice to the offender, to do justice for the victim. I will tell you, as you reflect on what you want to do with your time off the board, if you want to volunteer or you want to work for United Way or you want to be with the House of Hope, all wonderful, phenomenal organizations, I will tell you this one thing that in my 31 years as a prosecutor I've come to realize about Safe Space here on the Treasure Coast. We save lives. We literally save lives. When I'm out glad handing and begging for money for the organization, that's what I tell them. I said, it's wonderful to give your money to the American Cancer Society or Leukemia Society or what have you, but I said, if you want to directly impact human lives and save lives, give it to Safe Space. So I'm honored to be here today. I'm very grateful that you all have taken the time out of your busy schedule to recognize this scourge upon our community, not safe space, domestic violence, obviously I'm talking about. And again, I thank you on behalf of the organization for your recognition.
And as we wrap up, I just wanted to remind everybody that we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of Walk a Mile in Her Shoes this year in partnership with the Martin Stewart Air Show on November 13th. And we personally invite you to please join us on this day as we stand up and speak about domestic abuse and let the victims know that they're not invisible, that there is hope, that there's a better life, and that we are here, Safe Space is here, and all of us in this community to help them. So I invite you to come down and take a picture with all of
Teresa,
us in your red shirt.
Tell us how we can sign up if somebody's interested in signing up for
So there's,
the walk.
online, www.safespacefl.org, and or if you call our offices, we'll be more than glad to coordinate that process for you.
Great. No,
772-223-2399.
wonderful. And then we would love to take a picture with everybody with your red shoes on in the well.
Wonderful. Look at you. That's nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Want to do it out, Laura? Want to do it out here where you can see the
We're gonna need
shoes?
to do it out here, because otherwise I don't think I'm tall enough. I don't think I'm tall enough to get the picture. I'm gonna move these, so we have so many people, so that everybody can be in the middle. I'm gonna move these out. Sure, thank you. Make a little extra room.
Trying to get.
Commissioner Heatherington should get in front of you, please. Got great shoes.
No, no, you're good. Got that long stretch from Tom.
Smile, everyone. One, two, I'm gonna do it with my other camera too.
Don't ever see me wearing a skirt.
Sorry. A little slow. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Well done.
Thank you so very much.
There's a whole new meeting for the Wednesday morning meeting, right?
Follow me. Oh, are you sure?
Yeah, risk analysis side of things in life.
I don't have a pair. What size is it? No, I'm a 13.
Oh, we had some 13s too.
Yeah. I'm a little heavier. I'm going to need a thicker heel. Like steel reinforced.
Oh.
So what's your stage name?
And we'll
Spike.
It's the street you grew up on your first back.
You're supposed to take your street name when you were a kid and your first puppy's name. That's your stage name.
Do you literally walk a mile on them?
It's more like a quarter mile.
we just have to.
Right.
Want to give me the sheets now? I'll take them.
Okay. We're just waiting for a moment for everybody to clear out, and then we're going to move on with the agenda and public comment. Okay, so I have a couple public speaker requests to speak forms, and if you're new joining us, we have a 3-minute time limit for public comment, and you will receive a warning at 15 seconds. You'll receive a warning beep that will tell you that your time is nearing the end. And we have our first speaker will be Arthur Mills, and Arthur will be followed by Joyce Fletcher Minyar. Minar? Good morning.
Good morning, all. I'm here today to talk about a project that's done by the Rotary Clubs of Martin County. We give each third grader in public schools and some private schools a dictionary, just like the one you have. Now, each year, they add a couple of new words to the dictionary, so the teachers have to get a new book each year in the third grade, because the things aren't on the same page. We buy the dictionaries, we bring them to the schools, we have a team that goes to each school, into the classroom, one Rotarian into the classroom, explains to the kids what we are doing, and we give each child at that point his dictionary. Then we explain to them, this is, excuse me, your book forever. We have them write their name on the inside front cover. There's usually a place aligned. Then we have about a 20-minute program where we teach them how to use the dictionary. I'm going to skip that with you. I figure you don't need that. Anyway, the purpose of doing this, and now I'm not talking about my experience because I've been doing dictionaries 15 years, but everything I learned about teaching, excuse me, I learned from my wife. Stacy knows her. Reading is probably the most single important thing you learn in school, because you must read to do anything. You can't do math until you can read. And because of that, we feel giving every third grader a dictionary is a worthwhile project. My wife has had kids come back in high school saying they're still using it. That's my 3 minutes. Does anybody have a question about the program?
Anybody have a question? Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Oh, I'd like to introduce Kathy Crum. She is with the Rotary Club of Stewart. She is the chairman of their program. We work together.
Thank you for being here. Okay, our next speaker is Joyce Fletcher Minar.
Good morning. I am the historian, archivist, and president of All Saints Cemetery in Jensen Beach. In May of this year, All Saints Cemetery was approved by Martin County's Historic Preservation Board as a historic site. Having been established in 1898, adjacent to All Saints Episcopal Church, it overlooks the Indian River Lagoon. The cemetery is an independent 501c3 organization and does not receive funds from the church. So on behalf of the board, I want to thank Commissioners Smith and Jenkins for the work the Bowman Consultants did this year to assist the cemetery in documenting the cemetery through the use of ground-penetrating radar, regular survey techniques, and the adding of GPS locations. This will allow us to be able to provide anyone visiting access to the gravesite of their loved ones through GPS and their cell phone. I think we'll be the biggest cemetery in the county to do this with 5,700 graves. I'm also here to invite one and all to join us for two events. One is our self-guided tour, our second tour. This year, it's Our Veterans Are Buried Here. More than 895 veterans are buried amongst those 5,700 graves. The tour highlights the stories of 26. Some are local boys who grew up here, others are retirees who enjoyed the good life here and are resting in peace. The tour booklet is $15 and is available conveniently Halloween through Sunday, November 14th at the cemetery office, and is available by mail. The tour proceeds will go to replace the inefficient 1958 irrigation system for those 9 acres. All of these graves, as I said, can be found by GPS So this little book is a great Christmas present for the history buff in your life, or as a gift to welcome new neighbors. This is a community cemetery where all are welcome. If you dig Jensen, stay forever.
Nice.
The second,
Nice.
did everybody get that? Maybe the most fun you're going to have in this meeting. The second event will be held at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, November 2nd, All Souls Day. The Sunset Memorial Service on top of the hill by the 18-foot granite cross is to remember all the departed, whether they're buried in our cemetery or not. Our rector, Father Tony Holder, wants everyone to know that all are welcome, so please join us. Thank you.
Joyce, one moment. Commissioner Smith has a comment.
Joyce, I know you touched on it a little bit, but can you talk about the idea that you're going for National Register status for the cemetery, and also, even though it may be a little bit more convoluted and complicated, maybe perhaps the church as well?
Thank you so much for asking. Yes, I'd be delighted to. All Saints Cemetery and Church initially were on the same property, 5 acres donated in 1898, back when women could not transact real estate. God bless Charles Racy, he let his wife sign the papers. That was our beginning. In 1933, Cliff Garrison gave us an additional 4 acres, so our total cemetery space is altogether 9 acres, and that includes the property where the church is. Given the age of the cemetery, given the age of the church was moved in 1963, so we have our office buildings in what was the house the rector lived in on the original site of the church. In addition to that building built in 1966, we have another building that was built in 1958, which is where our thrift shop is for those of you who need retail therapy. And we also have the beginning of our fellowship hall, which was built in 1958 and moved and was expanded to the building that you see today and completed in 1961. Altogether, we're hoping to go forward to put all of these buildings as Martin County's first historic district, now that we are a CLG organization. Martin County is a CLG organization, and if you haven't been to our church, our roof will not fall in. You're all welcome to come see our beautiful site. Is there anything else that you can think of that I missed? Okay, thank you very
A
much.
lot of work ahead of us.
It's a lot of work ahead of us, but we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker this morning is going to be Tom Pine, and Tom will be followed by Bruce Montefusco.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Tom Pine. I presently live in Jensen Beach. At the last Commission meeting, one Commissioner in particular went on a prolonged rant defending himself and staff by attacking past administrations. This is the oldest tactic in the book: attack other people as a distraction, and then you are no longer the center of attention. At times, I felt like I was being directly attacked by him, to intimidate me or belittle me. Sorry, it didn't work. If anything, you energized me. Some things over the years Commissioners has passed to aid their re-elections: the elimination of runoffs, paying Martin County firefighters wages based on Broward County, giving public sidewalks to the businesses downtown Jensen Beach. Incumbents already have advantages. If you were a firefighter, who would you vote for? Someone new or someone who has already taken care of you? The good old boys are already strong and allied to most Commissioners. The first time I got any real attention to about what was going on in Martin County was the illegal expansion of runway 1230 at Whitman Field. With not one of my neighbors was notified about the meeting, it didn't take long for us to find out. Staff gave a presentation that the typical environment studies were not necessary. The real clincher was the photo that staff showed at the Commission meeting in order to get a 5-0 yes vote. It showed only woods directly west of the airport, where I lived with 30 other families. There's a contributor to Compan Tanny's newsletter that states, when circumstances change, you have to put up with it. If it's done legally, I agree, but this runway extension was a first-class con job by staff and I'm sure the commissioners that were pushing it were well aware of what was going on. So I have bad taste in my mouth when commissioners put staff on such a high pedestal. Sorry, I learned the hard way in real life. So now staff is pushing major changes to the comp plan. I don't understand what's going on there with these changes, but I know it won't be good for Martin County taxpayers based on what's going on with these changes over the last few years. Staff works for the county commission, not the taxpayers of Martin County. The pecking order that the majority of commissioners work for are the special interests, the good old boys, the pay-to-play crowd, and the big money boys. Many of them are the same people. The average taxpayer is way down the line. These changes to the comp plan are sure to pass with the help of staff. They will lead to higher crime, more people going to bed hungry, homeless population will be growing rapidly. Thanks to the majority of commissioners and staff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And our next speaker, and this is the final public speaker form I have, so if you would like to provide public comment, then please fill out one of these. Bruce Montefusco.
Good morning, all.
Morning.
Okay, I'm looking at today's agenda, current consent agenda, as this is apparently something that we're not allowed to sit there and discuss, and it's already going to be decided by the commissioners. Is that correct? It's not open to public discussion.
This is public comment, so you can do your 3 minutes of public comment, not question and answer.
Okay, so I'm making a public comment here. On your consent agenda, there are 14, almost $15 million in expenditures that are not listed in your agenda today. And this is something when we're dealing with, this is not your money, this is our money. We pay taxes on this, which goes to the state, federal, and local government. And when you guys are playing around with $15 million, $14.5 million worth of our money as citizens of this county without us having any input on it, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. So, there's some things here that need to be corrected. And on the consent agenda, certainly there are several places in here that need to be addressed by the public, not just by the commissioners, and they need to be having public hearings on this. It needs to be more plain. I found this here, but on your agenda, it is not listed at all as far as the amounts that are being discussed and are going to be approved or disapproved today. So that is a very annoying situation. And as a taxpayer in this county, if it's our money that's being spent, my money that's being spent, these guys' money that's being spent, we want to know how much it is and what it's going to, because there's nothing in here that says that they're going to be defined as far as, okay, we're spending this money, but we're not going to tell you where it's going or what it's going for and who's getting paid. It doesn't define that. It's our right to know where our money is going. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And does anybody else wish to make public comment this morning? Okay, with that, well, then we'll start with commissioner comment. Commissioner Jenkins.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Campy.
Yeah, we've been, in the last couple weeks, rolling out our new recycling program, and it certainly has met with some controversy, and it's not, we know that it's not perfect. We know that adjustments will be made, and we just ask for your patience and for your cooperation as we iron out some wrinkles. I know that in my neighborhood, particularly, I live in Rocky Point. It's a peninsula. Almost all the streets are dead-end streets. Almost all the side streets are extremely narrow, and the old way of picking up our recyclables no longer is the best way. One of the things that we did with the waste management contract is we require waste management to purchase a whole new fleet of trucks in order to improve reliability, and also they're to be powered, they're to be fueled with condensed natural gas, which is going to save money and it's going to help save our planet. We're trying to reduce our carbon footprint. We're trying to reduce global warming. So now the trucks are fully automated. There's only one person on the truck. That person is a driver. And the recycle bins are gripped and picked up and disposed on the truck on one side. So now, with our residents putting their recycle bins on either side of the road on these very narrow dead-end streets, the truck drives down, picks up all the bins on one side, backs up the entire length of the street, turns around, backs in, picking up all the bins on the other side of the street, and then pulls forward, exiting the street. If we could make a really, really minor adjustment, which is on those streets that don't have turnaround capabilities and that are very, very narrow, if you could put all of your recycle bins on one side of the street, then the truck can go down the street, pick up all the bins, exit the street, making one round trip instead of two. It will save money, it will save time, it will save fuel. It's a small change to make, but we can really improve the efficiency of our operation and make our commitment to better fuel consumption. It will really help. So one small change on those streets where it's impossible to do turnarounds, if we could make that one little change and really improve our program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Krista. Ms. Woods? Okay. With that, then we're going to jump into our agenda. We're going to go ahead and take consent 1 right now. So I pulled the item because I am an employee of Ferrera. It's a item it's a contract that meets the threshold for board approval, and Ferrera was not recommended for award, but in the nature of the statute, I'm still abstaining from the vote, and I have filed my Form 8B, and so I'll recuse myself from this one.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor?
Aye.
With me abstaining, so it carries 4 to 0, and Commissioner Hetherington recusing herself. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, we're going to start with public hearing number 1. It is Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Program presentation by Mr. George Stokas.
Good morning, Madam Chair. George Stokas, Assistant County Administrator for the record. This is the second public hearing as required by the grant requirements for Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus. Overall, this is for, we call it the Reach Center. Some of you know it as Building 17. It's pretty much the same PowerPoint, nothing has changed. Again, we're looking to upskill the workforce from retail and hospitality into more economically stable industries, such as aviation, marine, the trades. Pretty much as we're talking with our collaborating with IRSC, it's aviation, marine, and manufacturing seem to be the highest requests and requirements to date. This center will act as a starting point for people entering into the vocational trades or license programs. It's a traditional classroom in a non-traditional setting. And I apologize, I skipped ahead there. The facility will also operate as a continuing education, additional licensing, especially with aviation. There's a lot of continuing education units. But then in the off hours, after 5 o'clock, we will be seeing a lot of classes like English as a second language, which is one of the higher demand classes, as well as further education to upskill into manufacturing. This slide denotes the location, Building 17, the Reach Center. To acquaint yourself, Airport Road is on the south, and then Precision Jet is to the top of this picture, and then Triumph is on the left side. Essentially, the roles and responsibilities are that the county will provide the facility, Indian River State College, as well as CareerSource will provide staff and educate workforce, and then the business community will demonstrate demand, send employees, and then hire new candidates. We will be utilizing ARPA funds to assist in the workforce pipeline process. Financial commitments, we are asking for $1.4 million. That's based on an engineered estimate package from 2019. And then through these operating costs will be handled by IRSC. And this is our recommended action. We ask that the board receive public comment on the proposed use for the CDBG CV funds.
Okay. All right, with that, we will go ahead and take public comment on the item. Does anybody in the gallery wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, Commissioner Smith?
George, I know I'm jumping ahead a lot, but through the years, we've talked through the time with the folks from SPAM, and I hope at some point that if there's ever the ability to expand the physical capacity of the building, it would be a super cool place to locate SPAM, I think, given their robotics program, given the different companies we have out at the airport that would be able to tap into those kids as future employees that might actually end up going further through that program. Just food for thought, and I know we've had a lot of discussion, again, through the years as to where they could go and where that program might be able to expand, and I just hope that we keep that on the radar screen and keep them engaged.
Yeah, that has not been lost. We're kind of calling that phase 2 of the building. There's going to be a lot of changes to this area. Precision Jet is currently in lease negotiations with the county, and there will be changes to the top side of this picture, as well as through the pandemic, the parking requirements for Liberator Medical Supply have changed drastically, and there's a lot more work at home sales force. As you can see in this picture, this is a good day where the parking lot's not completely full, whereas today now we may see, if you can see my cursor, we may see this row get filled up as their workforce has been coming back. So there seems to be ample room to do the approximate 5,000 square foot extension at some point, but that's going to have to be a phase 2, and that expansion doesn't necessarily qualify for the funds that we're going after, but we do have it on the radar. We just kind of want to go baby step into that. But we have talked to some of the SPAM folks. It's been a while. It's been probably about almost a year, but we are not lost on their needs and requirements.
Great, thank you. Your motion?
Okay. Do we need a motion for this item?
Donna, can you go to the board item for me?
Sir, do you have a public comment? Come forward. And then you can fill out a form when you're completed.
Okay. This is public hearing 1, PH1. I think this needs a clarification here for the public explanation and public input. There's this $1,400,000 that's they want a journal to this project on this building. This is from COVID-19 relief funds. COVID-19 relief funds, not building funds.
We
okay?
can't hear you when you turn away from the microphone.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so they shift from that purpose to improving a county-owned and controlled building for renovations that have been planned already for 2.5 years. How does this help those who have experienced losses due to COVID-19? What is this building, putting this money into this building, how is this going to affect people that are being affected by COVID-19? These funds were journaled for people that are affected by COVID-19. This has nothing to do with the county building project. You're affecting businesses, you're taking $1,400,000 away from businesses and residents that have been affected by COVID-19, and you're putting it toward a county building. I don't understand this. This needs clarification. It does not seem right to me. So whether those funds come from the county, state, or federal level makes no difference. We all pay for this stuff in our taxes. We need to know where our money's going. But $1.4 million has been journaled for COVID-19, not a public county building. Thank you.
Okay. I think Mr. Stokas has his light on and would like to address some of that.
So, Madam Chair, if you want me to further clarify just some of the questions I heard.
Sure,
So
please.
this money is actually a direct result from the Federal American, I believe it's the Federal American Rescue Plan dollars. The grant itself was that money was then handed down to the State Department of Economic Opportunity Office. What the grant requirements, we've been in discussions with the federal entity. as well as the state entity. And the grant is specifically aimed at improving sites for workforce. So the grant specifically says there are individuals who have been affected by COVID-19, specifically in the hospitality environment where that economy has been very unstable. And this grant's sole purpose is to create facilities that can transition those folks from those type of jobs who are either underemployed or not employed, which we did see a very rapid rise. I've presented to this board with our COVID-19 economic impact statement, which is available online, where we saw those industries take great losses to the tune of 86% of people losing their jobs. And this will then transition them from being unemployed or underemployed into industries that will go into a more stable environment, such as some of the manufacturing, some of the more historic trade industries in the county, such as marine and aviation, which, by the way, have done very well in this county. I also should know, and I didn't go into full depth on this in this item, but the grant requires us to prove the impact for COVID-19, which we've already passed that threshold with both the state and federal. But furthermore, we have to partner with not-for-profit partnerships to provide that 51% of all attendees have to be of low to moderate income, and that is the income group in this county that has suffered the most from COVID-19, not necessarily from the actual sickness, but from the economy. So that was the intent of the staff, and that grant does require that it go into an actual facility because the state is looking for sustainability and longevity, very similar to this board with our ARPA funds that we've done. So I'm more than happy to meet with the gentleman if he would like to go in further depth. I'm be more than happy to tour the building with him if he'd like. But I hope that provides some clarification. I do apologize for not going far in depth on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Campy.
Yes, thank you. I also appreciate the question because if there is concern or confusion in our community, then I'm glad that you had an opportunity to present it. Yes, I read that information that was distributed as well. And yes, this building has been in the works. It's something that well before Corona, we as a community had been working on job training, retraining, giving people that are struggling prior to the pandemic an opportunity for some workforce education. The concept that the money's being used to enhance a government building, it's not going to be filled with government employees. It's not an administrative building. It's a learning and training facility, and we would have been, yes, we were working on it well ahead of time, but now more than ever, the pandemic has shown us that it's more important than ever that we have these facilities. We're partnering with legitimate organizations, not just IRSC, but our school district, who has for a long time been trying to work on academies and things like that. Not every student goes off to college. Many of them stay home and work and fill the void on job training and careers that we all know from reading are lacking, welding and marine work. And now here in Martin County, we focus on aviation and marine, but welding skills and other mechanical trade skills that are sadly lacking in our educational, life trajectory. The chambers have started as early as middle school trying to help guide young people to figure out what their plan is. We're doing it at the high schools because the school district has done a remarkable job with that. IRSC does it here, and the county is partnering with the Business Development Board and the Economic Council. So I can appreciate the confusion on whether or not this would be appropriate money for COVID. I think it's perfectly appropriate because beyond just giving people rent assistance or mortgage assistance or food, we're giving them an opportunity to learn skills that they will have for decades or a lifetime in a career. So I'd make a motion, if you didn't have one already, to accept staff's recommendation because this is exactly what we should be doing. Handing money out in charitable, just handing it out, although does address an immediate need, it doesn't address a lifetime need. So I appreciate your efforts, sir.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, public hearing number 2. We have public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance repealing Article 6 relating to tobacco products and amending Article 7 relating to electronic nicotine delivery devices of Chapter 87, General Ordinances of Martin County Code, presented by Elise Elder.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Elise Elder, Senior Assistant Accounting Attorney. We are here in a public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance which repeals Article 6, which relates to tobacco products, and amends Article 7, which relates to vapor-generating devices of Chapter 87 of the General Ordinances of the Martin County Code. We are proposing to the board to repeal Article 6, because state law took effect on October 1st, and the regulation of the marketing, sale, delivery, and age of tobacco products is now preempted to the state. And then we are also recommending amendment to Article 7, because our definition of vapor-generating device refers to Article 6, so now we are changing it to the statutory definition. I know the board is very familiar with this. We've had many public hearings on this issue over the past year, so that concludes my presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And we are recommending that the board approve the proposed ordinance to be in compliance with Florida law.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
I'll move to approve. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Jenkins, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and we have public hearing, quasi judicial number 1, request for a zoning district change by AA Marina LLP, and that will be presented by Peter Walden. And this is quasi judicial, so we'll take ex parte communication. Commissioner Jenkins?
If I have any, they've been filed.
I do, and they're filed.
Okay. Commissioner Campy?
I don't have any.
I don't have any, and I've been filed.
If any, mine have been filed as well. And do we have any return receipts that need to be
Turned in at the LPA.
Okay, and your copy of your work history, LPA.
A copy of my work history and agenda item to Exhibit 1.
Okay. Layla, would you like to swear in the witnesses, please? If you're providing testimony for this item, please stand.
Please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Good morning, Commissioners. Peter Walden with the Growth Management Department. This is an application for a proposed amendment to the county zoning atlas for a commercial district designation. The proposed amendment is to change the existing zoning district on a approximate 4-acre parcel of land from B2 Business District and R3A Liberal Multiple Family District to WGC Waterfront General Commercial District, or the most appropriate district. The parcel is located on the east side of Northeast Indian River Drive, just south of the intersection with Northeast Dixie Highway and Jensen Beach. Included with this application is a request for a certificate of public facilities exemption. The land use the land use designation for the property is commercial waterfront. There are 2 zoning districts on the property currently, the B2 Business District and the R3A Liberal Multiple Family District. The B2 district is inconsistent with the future land use designation. Therefore, the request to rezone is considered mandatory. The permitted uses are provided in the staff report. The Resort Commercial District leans more towards residential uses, and the Waterfront General Commercial leans more towards commercial uses. The development standards are pretty similar, except for the WGC allows a 40-foot building height as opposed to the Resort Commercial's 30-foot. It's important to note that both existing zoning classifications on the property allow 40 feet building height at this time. And the setbacks are identical. So the property, an analysis of the proposed amendment has been provided in the staff report. This is an aerial of the existing marina commercial operation that's been in operation since the 1950s. The current zoning atlas showing the B2 district, which incorporates most of the project, with the R3A up in the northern side of it. The waterfront commercial land use is consistent throughout the area. So, and this was heard before the LPA this month, and the LPA voted unanimously to approve the rezoning. And the Growth Management Department staff have reviewed the application and pursuant to the analysis provided in Section B of this report, finds this application in compliance with the applicable regulations. There are no unresolved land use, zoning, or procedural requirements issues associated with this application. Therefore, staff recommends that the board receive and file the agenda item summary and all its attachments, including the staff report as Exhibit 1, and move that the board approve the request to amend the Martin County zoning atlas to change the zoning district on the subject property from the R3A Liberal Multiple Family District and B2 Business District to the WGC Waterfront General Commercial District and adopt the resolution of approval. That concludes my presentation. Be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, does anybody have questions for staff? Okay, Mr. Crady, would you like to make a presentation?
No presentation, just for the record, my name is Morris Crady, Senior Vice President with Aceto and Associates. I'm here on behalf of the property owner, and as Pete mentioned, it's a mandatory zoning change to bring the property into compliance with a comprehensive plan, land use designation, and also matches the existing use.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we're going to take public comment. Does anybody wish to provide public comment on this item? Seeing none, okay, comes back to the board with a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Now we have public hearing quasi judicial number 2. We have a request to continue this item to December 7th. We're going to, it's a request by Right Fish LLC for major final site plan approval for Right Fish 711. We're going to open the item and then we'll take public comment and make a motion to continue. So do we need to do the ex parte? No. Okay, so with that, then the item is announced, and we will take public comment. Anybody wishing to make public comment on this item? Okay, and the applicant has requested to continue to December 7th.
Madam Chair, move that item PHQJ2 be continued until December 7th, 2021.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion for the item to be continued to December 7th by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, our next item this morning is departmental number 1, Office of Management and Budget items, which require board approval, and that will be presented by Ms. Jennifer Manning. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have 5 items on the agenda. The first one is the Building Department is requesting permission to apply through the Florida Inland Navigation for the derelict vessel removal grant in the amount of up to $30,000. It requires a match of $11,780, which is programmed in the vessel program budget, which has been expended already, but we've been successful over the last few years in receiving funding from FIND. Second item is permission to amend the existing grant through the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for the construction and permit required for the inlet management implementation program. They're requesting an additional, they're been awarded an additional $1,450,000, and that brings their grant total to over $50 million, which is a 50-50% match. Those funds are programmed in the CIP on the St. Lucie Inlet bond. The third item is permission to accept the FY 2022 Children's Services Council grant for the after-school, out-of-school program. This provides staff, maintenance, supplies, and programming for Golden Gate, Jensen Beach, and New Monrovia, as well as the Extreme Team countywide. The total amount is $327,997.10. It requires a match of $472,622.20. Those funds are programmed in the operating budget and the recreation program. The fourth item is permission to accept a supplemental grant for through the local planning agency for resurfacing of County Road 707, Southeast Beach Road. And this is an additional $364,000 that's being awarded. So we're revising the grant agreement to accept those funds. The final item is a request from a budget transfer from the broadband reserve funds to repair a conduit that was a fiber optic cable that was damaged. It's only $6,955. There's sufficient funding in that reserves to cover that cost. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Then it comes back to the board for a motion.
Move staff's recommendation.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Smith.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, our departmental number 2 is contracts that meet the threshold for board approval, $1 million or greater. And there are 3 items presented by Christy Brotherton.
Good morning, Christy Brotherton, Purchasing Manager. The first item for your consideration today is our Southeast Beach Road resurfacing project. This extends from the Palm Beach Martin County line to Southeast Bridge Road. This project was publicly bid, and staff is recommending that the board award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, which is Sunshine Land Design, in the amount of $7,198,204.76. Move that the board approve the CIP revision to reflect the bid award, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute any and all documents related to this request. Next, we have a continuing services contract for generator repair and maintenance. This project was publicly bid as well, with a maximum not to exceed contract value of $1 million and a maximum not to exceed contract term of 5 years, which is a 3-year term plus 2 one-year renewal options. Staff is recommending that the board award the contract to LJ Power Incorporated, Accurate Power and Technology Incorporated, and Tradewinds Power Corp., and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute any and all documents related to this request. And last, we have another continuing services contract for our fiber optic network cabling. This contract was also publicly bid with a maximum not to exceed contract value of $1 million and a maximum not to exceed contract term of 5 years. Again, 3-year term plus 2 one-year renewal options. And staff is recommending that the board award the contract to Precision Contract Services Incorporated and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute any and all documents related to this request. And that concludes this item.
Does anybody have any questions on those items? Nope. Then we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And our final item this morning is departmental number 3, DOT Canner Highway State Road 76 landscaping project.
Lost the consultant someplace.
Oh, yeah, you can go ahead and introduce the item.
All right, so I am Kylie Yanchula, Field Operations Administrator for the record, and it is my pleasure this morning to introduce to the board Todd Warren. So he was formerly with our growth management group as a senior environmental planner for 5 years, but the Public Works Department stole him, and he is a wetland scientist and arborist and Aggie, so we are looking forward to presenting this item to you today. And then we also have Rob Kotler with us. He is the landscape architect for FDOT for our agenda item. So he waved hi, and he'll be here to answer any questions that you may have. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Todd.
Before you start, I'd like to just compliment Todd. I had an opportunity to work with Todd very extensively when he was in growth management with a very tricky project in Palm City. For a long time, he was extremely professional and he represented the county very well and made my life easier. It was a challenge, but I appreciate it, and congratulations on your change.
Commissioner? I echo that, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the county to have you in the right position.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for the introduction. Again, I'm Todd Warren, Field Operation Vegetation Maintenance Manager, and I will be presenting a PowerPoint presentation for this project, which is the landscaping project planned for Canner Highway between Cove Road and Monterey Road. On September 20th, the project was presented to the MPO, and on September 28th, the BOCC expressed support for the project and expediting the process. October 1st, the chair submitted a letter to FDOT requesting that the project be expedited. And the current timeline, at the moment when we made this presentation, it's been accelerated slightly. We'll talk about that at the end. FDOT has hired Kotler and Hearing to design the $1.289 million future landscaping project. The county may contribute funds to increase the level of aesthetic that's desired. Should contributions be authorized, DOT will require a letter of commitment from the county, and funds must be provided to DOT prior to construction. That final budget will be determined, will determine the landscaping design elements. And I'm going to go through the three potential options that the county has, fourth being no contribution whatsoever, but the three levels start with the highest level of aesthetic, for a lack of a better phrase. This option was presented, or this was the option that was presented to the MPO. The design elements are taken basically from the Veterans Memorial Bridge, sort of mimic that look, and sections of Canner Highway just to the south between the highway and Cove Road. The medians would include solid shrub plantings with absolutely no sod, some decorative concrete maintenance strips and irrigation systems. There would be 2,600 feet of sound walls that would include shrubs, trees, irrigation, and 4 ponds including would include tree plantings, no irrigation there. The 3 irrigation systems would be drawing from the DOT ponds in the area. These are kind of some renderings of what the high level of aesthetic would look like. As you can see, there's no sod presented here. You can see some of the stamped concrete and the densely planted shrubs and trees. I think there's one more, just a closer view of what that may look like. The second option is the medium level of aesthetic. The plant sizes would be reduced. There would be no stamped concrete, maintenance strips in the median. There would be turf in the medians between the planting beds, and the sound wall design and irrigation would remain the same. Again, some renderings. You can see some sod is now present, and there are none of those stamped concrete maintenance strips. And then the third option would be the low level of aesthetic. All shrubs would be eliminated from the medians. They would still include trees, sod, and irrigation only, none of the stamped concrete maintenance strips, and the sound wall and irrigation would remain the same. Here's some of those renderings. Okay, these are the estimated project costs. As you can see in the blue, light blue, those are the FDOT contributions of $1.289 million. The orange would be the high aesthetic to the low aesthetic, the highest being $632,600, the medium being $402,900, and the low $250,000. We did a very rough estimate on what those maintenance costs would be annually, and came up with about $66,000 for the high, $54,000 for medium, and almost $34,000 for the low. Those are tentative and best case estimates that we could come up with. Now the funding, the county contribution is required prior to the letting of the project. County maintenance will not begin until 2 years after the construction. and will be added to the appropriate budget at that point. Enhanced landscaping maintenance is typically funded by gas tax, which has been steadily decreasing due to more efficient vehicles and the prevalence of remote work. And the new enhanced landscaping maintenance sites will impact the road MSTU in future budgets and which may require a supermajority vote for approval. And we're to the recommendations. We move that the board provide direction to staff in terms of the desired level of aesthetic and contribution amounts, and move that the chair execute a letter of commitment for the contribution amount and future maintenance to FDOT. And with that, we can answer any questions you may have or call on Rob if it need be.
Sure. Commissioner Hearn.
Yeah, what's, if we don't make an enhanced contribution, what's our annual maintenance cost? And what does the landscaping look like? What's different? So the lowest one was 250,000, so what's subtracted from the landscaping?
Do we have a rendering for that?
We do not.
We don't have a rendering for that option.
But essentially, we would not contribute any capital funds, but we regardless would recommend that we take over maintenance of the project, just because we have higher maintenance standards and we do more frequent cycles than FDOT. So we would be looking at an annual maintenance cost estimated at around $33,000 to $35,000 per year.
Okay, Mr. Gordon, do you remember what the
Jim Gordon.
FDOT project would provide in terms of landscaping?
Yeah, Jim Gordon, Public Works Director, for the record. The DOT project, if we had no contribution, would have less shrubs, less of the small trees, and it would still have irrigation. It would still have some plantings in it, but it would just be less than what you saw on that low aesthetic slides.
And it goes from I-95 to Monterey?
Cove to, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Cove. We ended right at Cove with the project they just completed that's still under warranty. So it'll pick up on the north side of Cove Road, and it will run most of the way to Monterey Road.
We've literally been down this road before, and we do a terrible job generally of maintaining our enhanced landscaping. And I look at the project that's been installed north of the Roosevelt Bridge, and I can't imagine what that's the city of Stewart. I can't imagine what that's going to look like in a couple years, because it looks like it's overplanted today. And it looks like the plant material selection was questionable. I'm not in favor of adding any additional donations. I think that we should just go with the DOT project.
And Commissioner Campy.
Thank you. Your recommendation is right when you say you're looking for the board to provide direction, because this is not a yes or a no answer, or you're not asking for a yes or no, it's an opinion. One of the things I read in the information was that not only the increased money, or the money from the county to contribute, not only increased the level of landscaping, but it also sped up the timing, correct?
That is correct.
Can you explain how that would happen? Like, what would the regular timing be, and what would this do?
So
I don't think, one point before you answer, I don't think most residents realize, with all due respect to FDOT, they deal in like nearly decades. They deal in long time frames, and most residents then question like what's happening, especially when when the hardscape is completed and the softscape is not. Most people look at the project and think it's completed, just not the way that they would have anticipated. Can you explain how the FDOT process would work?
Sure. So we did receive a response from the chair's letter in terms of potentially expediting the project, and they have committed to expediting construction by 8 months upon receipt of the county's recommendation in terms of whether or not we're going to contribute funds. So we are looking at advancing that project and construction by 8 months. That being said, right now they are waiting for us to make a decision in terms of how much funding we're willing to contribute and whether or not we're willing to take over maintenance, because that impacts their design. So in order for Rob to move forward with designing the actual landscape elements, he does need to understand what his total budget is. So that's why we advanced this item and brought it to you today as quickly as possible.
Thank you. May I just finish? If you're taking the temperature of the board and you've given us those options, I think of those options as a good, better, best. And having not seen the version of what it would have looked like if we did nothing, the good, better, best, I get the concept where people say, we want nothing. I have a lot of people tell me that in Palm City as well, on Martin Highway, on MAP. We want nothing. And I think I get that concept, but it's a very personal opinion that residents have that want nothing. But I think the majority of the people that I speak to are appreciative of some of that. I think it enhances the level of where you live. It gives you some pride in where you live. There is, in my mind, a point where it does become too much, because nothing is not an option for me. It looks very dystopian and barren, in my opinion. But making it the grand boulevard is overkill as well. I do remind people that in Palm City, Martin Downs Boulevard is privately maintained and landscaped by the MDPOA, the Martin Downs Properties Owners Association. We did scale back Martin Highway when we were building it, or we were trying to build it, from a grand boulevard to something that you see more reasonable now. So if you were taking the temperature, I'm in favor of the good, the $250,000 version. It lowers your forever maintenance considerably, almost in half, from even just the one option above. I don't know what my colleagues would want. I do want something. I want people to have pride in where they live, but I think we could do that and make it a little easier for you to maintain forever. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I just wanted to kind of reiterate, Kylie just brought this up. The MPO, we discussed the project and Rob presented, and then, just recently at one of our board meetings, we asked for myself to present a letter to DOT Secretary Jerry O'Reilly to expedite the project. So his response as yesterday was based on that September 23rd request, that this standalone project would be moved ahead and is now programmed and with anticipated bidding it or letting it November 2022. And I think by them willing to move it up, our costs are just continuing to escalate. So the sooner we could move the project forward, I think the better off we will be as far as the cost of the project not increasing anymore. So I just wanted to share that letter, which was just received in my office yesterday, as Kylie mentioned. And Commissioner Smith.
Madam Chair, a couple thoughts. Years ago, a long time ago, I think one of the first real enhanced right-of-way projects that we did as a county anyway was Indian Street going through basically the Willoughby corridor. And I remember back then there was some criticism of our stepping up the pattern in the design of that median going through that section. But at the same time, I forever since that project, we have gotten nothing but praise for what a beautiful cross-section that was. The way it's maintained, and I forget if Willoughby if they have some involvement in maintaining that, or if that's all us doing it. Do you know?
That's us doing it.
That's us doing it. So we are capable of taking really nice care of right-of-way, and because it always looks really super nice. And there was a lot of discussion back then about the idea that Martin County should take a little bit more pride in its entranceways and its roadways coming into the county and announcing that you're in Martin County. City of Stewart's done a great job over the years. They have a different staffing strategy, kind of, if you will, than we do in terms of how they maintain things. They can allocate different resources in a different way than we do. And I'm hopeful that what they've done up on US 1, they will continue to do like what they do in downtown Stewart, and they'll maintain it as well as they take care of their other stuff. And I brought up to the board here too, my hope is that we can, as the county, can continue some version of that further north into Jensen, similar to what we have in Hope Sound in Harold's district. because it is kind of really barren up in Jensen. It really looks awful. And if we get sort of visitor critiquing on a regular basis, that is the one comment that comes up on a regular basis, is that it's really unfortunate that the northern section of US 1 going through Jensen looks the way it does. So I think there's a piece of this that is important for our community, that it gives recognition. Ed, I think, pointed it out really well. I think the Map Road project came out fabulous, Ed, and I don't know what to level, I don't know how you'd compare the level of what was done on MAP to what the 3 levels that you all presented here. I don't know if it's the A, B, or C version. Also kind of curious as to how you think, because I think part of the model that we asked FDOT to look at was the 714 Veterans Memorial Bridge landscaping project, was to kind of mirror that palette, if you will, of material. So do you know, or can you tell us how these options relate to 714 and how that was done?
I'm going to go ahead and let Rob talk about that a little bit.
And then the last part of that, while he's coming up, Jim, if you can, when he's done, also give us what our funding options are and how and where we could pull funds to do, whether it's the medium, whether it's the high, whether it's low, what options do we have for funding?
Okay. Good morning, Rob.
So, good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Rob Kotler with Kotler and Hearing, and I actually also designed the Indian Street Bridge and 714, so I know kind of exactly how close it is. I could say the palette is very similar, but it's still not to the density of Indian Street Bridge. That really, we had $1 million for that small section just before the bridge, so this would be already a little more spaced out. And basically, like you said, we could really design, it's really whatever dollar figure you give us. Like we said, about the 600,000 was that upper level, getting everything, all large sizes. You know, as Mr. Jenkins can tell you, landscape's very scalable. We could reduce sizes to get you the same quantities. We could take trees out altogether. There's lots of ways to get this to fit in. So basically what we'd be looking for is just give us that number. I'll work backwards and kind of give you everything you can get for, the dollars you provide.
So Rob, let me ask you this. So I heard what you said, but the way 714 was done, is that the option 1, 2, or 3, or is that like option 1A even further than
714 was already a set budget, and we just worked to that budget.
I'm not asking about the budget. I'm asking just about the density and the plant material and how much was planted. Is the A, I said the A option, the first option, the 600,000 option?
Yeah,
is that comparable?
Because here's the big factor here is if we plant out the medians with no sod, I think we need the maintenance strips because you got to have somewhere to work. You can't just be in solid plants. So given those two things, and as they said, their maintenance estimates were pretty, rough. I would think if you eliminate that sod and once the job is established, which it will be, DOT is going, like I said in the MPO meeting, we're going to take the first 2 years of maintenance, the department's contractor will. So by the time you get it, it's already fairly established, a couple more years maybe to get it really to where the shrubs are out competing the weeds. And then I think you level off. And I'm kind of surprised in those maintenance numbers. I would think if it's fully planted and no grass, that might even help with maintenance costs in the long term.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I asked the third time.
714.
So that how does option A or B or C compare to 714?
A is 714.
Okay. So if we were to duplicate, generally speaking, the strategy of 714, it would be option A, the 600,000 range.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I didn't mean to go around in a circle on that one a couple times. Because I think the expectations, at least that I have, is that the consistency and the quality at which we're doing those entrance features, like 714, for me, should be consistent on Canner, should be consistent somewhat on US 1. I think your section is probably more like a B option down in Hope Sound, I guess. Would you agree? It's a little less than, it's not quite as dense to me anyway that 714 is.
Hope Sound, what section? I'm not sure.
US 1, sorry.
Oh, US 1?
Near Bridge Road.
That was a long time ago.
So. Yeah, I have to drive that one again.
It's a great looking section. It's just not filled in around the base as much as 714 appears to be, which is fine. But anyway, that's just how I feel about it, Ed. I mean, as you're talking about it, I just think the consistency for Palm City, for Canner should be the same. And then if Jim could give us what options we have for funding it one way or the other.
Can I ask one question first?
Sure.
Go ahead.
And I may have missed this, so I will embarrass myself, but the presentation that you gave us at the MPO, what level was that?
That was the A, Eric.
That
We're
was
calling
the
A
A.
the high one, right? A
Right.
is, yeah, this,
All right.
that's
So
kinda
this is
all the
above
bells
and
and
beyond
whistles.
that was the A version.
That was, yeah, there's nothing really beyond, I wouldn't do anything beyond that. We pretty
Right,
much-
yeah, I just didn't.
But just to clarify, that presentation at the MPO is the high version of this.
Yes.
Okay.
And to clarify too, something Jim said earlier, if you go with just the DOT budget 1.2, we ran through this exercise, we figured we could give you trees only, you'll get your irrigation, but you'll have sod below, but even trees only was reduced. Remember, there was less solitaire palms, no royal palms around the ponds, we really had to cut some things, the ponds were a little more minimal. So it's a minimal DOT budget if we stick with the DOT budget.
But we don't have do we have a visual for that? I think.
Well, it's sort of what their third option was basically it, with just trees and little mulch rings. That's basically it. Yeah, that's basically it.
So that is the vision for no contribution whatsoever?
Right. And again, you're not showing the ponds here. The ponds would be minimal.
What about on the sound wall?
Sound wall stayed the same. The sound wall was important. We thought we needed to get the sound wall
I do
buffered,
too.
Yeah.
Taryn, did you have a comment?
Yes, I did. Well, just a couple of things. First, I think, and Kylie kind of alluded to it, the maintenance of those medians when DOT is doing it for the first or second year, depending on what our agreement is, they don't maintain at the level we do. And Commissioner Smith, I appreciate you recognizing that when we take it over, we bring it to a higher level. Secondly, City of Stewart, north of the bridge, as well as Map Road, were both TIF funding. That's your tax increment financing from the CRAs. We don't have a CRA in this area that you all are discussing from Cove to Monterey along Canner. So it would require these county funds, and Todd alluded to it. I mean, we had a challenging budget and had to cut some things. If you remember, we cut about $600,000, $700,000 from the road MSTU just to get it under a supermajority vote. So anything that we do today will impact your budget going into next year. And I just want to make it make clear, because Commissioner Hetherington, you specifically have asked that staff make it very apparent what those impacts are as we move forward into those current or those future budget years. So I just wanted to get that out there. And Jim, I think you were going to elaborate.
Yes, to circle back on Bridge Road or Hope Sound landscaping on US 1, that is more like the middle option here, or the B option, because we have turf out there, we've got some planting beds, and then we've got trees, so that would be more like the middle. But as far as funding options, there's a few things that we can do. Option one would be to take the money out of general fund reserves with the understanding that they need to be replenished in the next budget year. So that's an option that's out there. Another option is to defer some of our already approved CIP projects that have roadway MSTU in them. There are opportunities to fund some of those projects through other means potentially that we could get to, but we would have to defer it for the time being. Some of those projects are Coral Gardens neighborhood restoration. There's $400,000. There's a lot of money in there through franchise fee, but there's $400,000 in road MSTU. Port Salerno Peninsula neighborhood restoration. There's $350,000 in roadway MSTU. Annual commitments, which is a CIP sheet that we use for the leases that we have with FEC and CSX, and also for the maintenance of those crossings, because we have to pay to maintain those crossings. There's $300,000 in roadway MSTU, and there's a potential this year that those funds won't need to be spent because all those crossings are being redone by Brightline. So we may have a surplus this year. It would be a one-time thing if we do end up with a surplus there. And then the other one would be the traffic safety sheet. So we've got about $850,000 on that sheet in roadway MSTU alone. So those are some options that are available.
Yes.
So, Rob, the other piece of this that you mentioned, and I know we had it in the MPO presentation, but I'm forgetting exactly what the detail of it was. How much is involved in the pond landscaping,
Cost-wise,
percentage-wise?
pardon me?
Percentage-wise, dollar-wise, maybe?
Low percentage. I had an exact number on that. We broke that down. I don't know if
I'm just wondering if we could put off.
basically, it's basically scattered trees around the outside. I thought it was like not much, so, where's mine? Like
Yeah, it's unirrigated, there's no
30,000.
bed plan.
Didn't I give a breakdown? Wait, I do have that. Yeah, my last cost spreadsheet I did, I think I have an exact number. I do. Sound wall landscape was 90,000, 88,000. Trees and, no, that's sound wall, sorry. You're talking about the ponds was 62,000 of the total 1.2, so not much.
I just thought, I mean, if it was a bigger number, I was thinking we could do that as a phase 2 project down the road sometime.
And the one other thing I do want to clarify here, we talked about the DOT drop-off and maintenance. That's not during the 2 years. You get the highest level of all during the 2 years because we're keeping the contractor's money there. We're inspecting it every month. We're going to performance test the irrigation. The drop-off, and I'm glad none of my DOT people are here, but the drop-off is after the 2 years when DOT takes it over. That's when you see the interchange we did out there. There was a little drop-off after the contractor got off the job, so.
When you refer to that, you mean drop-off and maintenance?
Yes.
The level of
They mow
maintenance.
13 times a year only.
Commissioner Hurd?
Yeah, if we're talking about deferring neighborhood restoration projects in order to fund this, that's an absolute deal breaker for me. We keep deferring those neighborhood restoration projects. My own neighborhood isn't even scheduled to begin for another 3 or 4 years. We can't just keep sliding back those neighborhood restoration projects because the roads are in terrible shape. That's a necessity, not a nicety. So that would be a true deal breaker for me is installing additional shrubs and stiffing our neighborhoods.
I would agree. Commissioner Jenkins?
As you were going through that list, they were all deal breakers other than the Brightline thing because that is real. That's $300,000 that could at least get us to the low level, which just sitting here seems to be, in my simple mind, the most logic. So,
Can one of these versions? I mean,
You didn't have his light up.
If we're not mowing, I mean, I'd love to see us not have to mow.
but you've got to get all the way up to the top to get all the sod out, right?
Unless you just don't do anything at the ponds, as we said, that's an option.
That's only 60,000.
Yeah.
It doesn't get us very far.
60,000. Yeah, the stamped concrete alone, I think it was 124,000, 125,000, just to give you those strips like Indian Street has.
I thought that was an I thought that was an FDOT's bid, the stamped concrete. That was an add-on for us?
Yeah, that was an add-on for us. Yeah, if we do the low end, the department does not want to spend their dollars on concrete if they would prefer you spend it on plants, which is about all you could afford, plants and irrigation.
Commissioner Campy?
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins, I now know how it feels to have what you were just about to say be said by somebody else. So, I'm wearing the other shoe. As a suggestion to my colleagues, I don't want to call it like the good version and the bad version because I don't think a $1.3 million FDOT contribution and a $250,000 from us, so $1.5 million would be a bad option. I'm using the expression the good, the better, and the best. And Mr. Gordon said it just sort of in passing, like where some of these options are. I think, I can't speak for my colleagues, but I heard a couple of them. I agree with what Commissioner Hurd and Hetherington said about, I don't want to push neighborhood projects back either so that the median landscapes on pass-through roads look better. Where people live is where we should be focusing our attention. So as a suggestion to my colleagues, I would say that we could take the $250,000 to pay for this out of the Brightline crossing maintenance contract that we have, considering those Brightline crossings are all being redone at the expense of Brightline or whatever they call it nowadays. So they're obviously not going to need maintenance as though they were older the first year that they're installed. but you have calculated that money each year. So it's there. You said it was up to potentially $300,000. So I would make a recommendation that we do the good option, take the $250 from the railroad crossing maintenance allowance, considering the fact, not that I'm interested in diminishing railroad crossing safety or maintenance, understanding the fact that they'll be brand new for the first year, and do that option.
Okay, Commissioner Jenkins?
Isn't that for the next 14 years? Isn't that part of our agreement?
Well, part of our agreement is that, it's part of the settlement agreements, we're only taking on additional maintenance, if I remember correctly. I was looking at
I thought they were maintaining the
Ms. Woods.
crossings for 14.
It's additional maintenance, and it's also doesn't start until after the railroad has been in operation. I think it's a year or two. I have to look back at the settlement. I mean,
Right.
it'll be a while.
It's
We're
not
nowhere,
initially.
yeah.
We won't see that probably for 2 or 3 years.
But then we will for 15.
Yes, yes.
So we're not realizing that $250,000 until the railroad starts. Is that what you're saying?
It's after the service to Orlando is in operation. I think that's I can get back to you on the
Mr. Gordon
exact
can
date.
tell you
Yeah.
why they put it in the budget.
Yeah, the annual commitment sheet, that's to pay our leases and to pay for the repairs to all the crossings that they do. And what they typically do is they identify a crossing that needs a repair. FEC approaches us and lets us know that they need to do the project. They come up with a cost estimate. We review it with them and negotiate. And then we have to pay the entire cost for that because the railroad was here before us. So that's the way our leases work on those crossings. So my point is this year, we're not going to have any of those that need to be redone because they're all being redone. So the only cost we have on the CIP sheet is going to be for the leases themselves.
That we currently have.
That we currently have. So we will have a reduced amount. Typically, they'll do 2 to 4 crossings in a year. They're not going to do any this year.
That'll be for 10 years.
They do them more frequently than you think.
I know.
Yeah, like Salerno at Dixie has been done several times in my career.
Commissioner Jenkins, do you have
That's it.
follow-up? Commissioner Hurd?
Yeah, that was part of my question, is that my belief is that they send us bills. They don't just, say, okay, Martin County, we're going to propose to maintain this intersection or this crossing, and so we're going to, would you be willing to pay for us? They send us a bill, and we don't have any choice but to pay it. So do we have a promise that they're not going to stick us with any unwanted bills?
We don't have a promise that they're not going to stick us with that, but every crossing in Martin County is going to be modified. So there's no guarantee that they won't want to redo some of those this year, but the probability of that happening is pretty low because they are all being redone.
Yeah, I just think that this project is a long one, and I see an awful lot of inactivity. I see a lot of activity too, but I don't feel confident enough that I would be willing to give away the budget that I've reserved for those requirements, because I'm not at all convinced that they're not going to send us bills.
Commissioner Campy?
Thank you. I understand Commissioner Hurd's concern, but what Mr. Gordon said, that the normal process, even for existing railroad crossing, is that they determine, FEC determines that there's work that needs to be done. They bid it out and figure out what it's going to be because we don't have that expertise, they do. And then you negotiate with them. So, I mean, given your negotiating abilities, I can't imagine that with a straight face they could come over and say, these are brand new crossings, but we've come up with some reason that you'd need to maintain them. I'm not a big gambling person, but I think that would be a reasonable assumption that the first year, at least, where we're talking about taking these funds from, for me, that is the least difficult area to remove funds from. I was the one leading a charge here a couple weeks ago telling Miss Krista and staff that we had to cut and cut and cut. And we did. And I appreciate that. But I don't want to take it from any of the other projects that were mentioned. I appreciate that you give options. That's what your job is, to give us options for us to do the heavy lifting. That's the only one. So if we are going to do something and look at the advantage that this agenda item brings forth, the advanced timing, the enhancement of just a generic kind of FDOT process, I think this, to me, is the most reasonable. And then for me, the bigger issue to remember all along is the 33.8 compared to 54.6 compared to 65.8 in annual maintenance. You're never going to escape that. So I like that in the first handful of years, you would have gotten the 250 back just in lowered maintenance costs. Thank you.
Just to add a couple, I mean, here we are, we've been saying for a while that gateways are so important, and we hear from our residents that, they want an appropriate gateway and something that depicts the quality and the character of Martin County. And it certainly does not now. So we've been working on this project. The sooner I think that we get a project installed, the better, because again, prices are just going to escalate. So I'm happy they were able to move that forward. I'm satisfied. I'm not even sure if I'm confused on the DOT's project, which of course I love the high project. The project you presented to the MPO is beautiful. And I think that we probably would all prefer that if we could. I'm also satisfied, and I think that it does make a difference, the basic project that the DOT has outlined. And then it made me think, during my travels during the summer, we were out in some western Colorado and Montana, and they don't necessarily have landscape gateways, but they do have each individual town is uniquely identified and characterized by some kind of entrance, whether it be art. And so I wonder if, and probably, the board has discussed this in the past, is landscaping the only way to present our gateway entries? Are there other private-public partnerships and art projects that we could do that it doesn't have to be entirely invested in landscape? So if we did the basic DOT project, is there something else that we could do in some of our gateway neighborhoods, is my thinking. So I'm really leaning towards the more basic approach with the landscaping, even though I love the high visual. And that, Commissioner Campy, you had completed your thoughts.
The only thing I would tag on to what you said is that you could maybe potentially do some xeriscaping, where instead of having grass and things like that, where you're doing rocks and, especially, if we head into drought considerations, xeriscaping is an initial cost, but then there's, it looks good all the time. You don't have to worry about weeds and maintenance. And I know with some art in public places and things like that in the median, you have to worry about traffic safety or people crashing into them. Like someone crashed into the Veterans Memorial sign on the Stewart side of the bridge and destroyed it.
Yes. Commissioner Smith.
Can I
Commissioner
say one thing?
Sure.
To your point, and I think Rob might agree, the bang for the buck, the impact of this gateway as far as I'm going to defend the landscape industry right now, but is much greater than, I hear what you're saying, but this really, the return on investment in aesthetics is much greater in the planting world. So that's it. So I just thought I would.
Commissioner Smith.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Jim, also, are any of the ARPA funds available for this? Is there anything that we can move around, that we can replace one thing for something else?
Not for landscaping. The
infrastructure.
Yeah, the infrastructure. So the neighborhood restoration projects that I brought up, that was the.
Can you speak up a little bit, Jim? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. The ARPA funds are not available directly for landscaping, but the neighborhood restoration projects that I brought up, the roadway MSTU component of those could be offset with ARPA funds.
So that's another option. I would further like to explore to find out exactly what can be shifted. If,
Well, we
Can be, yeah, that
put
can be.
together projects for all those funds so far, so something will have to be taken off the list. I mean, you know,
so, fair enough, right? But if that's an option, I'd love to know what my trade-offs are for doing what we can and what we can't do. I just,
Well, those funds that I spoke of, Core Gardens has 400,000 in roadway MSTU, that could be offset with ARPA funds, and Port Salerno Peninsula 350, so that would be a total of 750, and you could offset it with the ARPA funds if that's what you wanted to do.
right, so what Taryn's saying, though, is
But we don't
what else
know.
gets shifted.
Right.
And what we don't know is what gets shifted as a result of doing that, if we did that. Is that something we can look at for,
well, Mr. Stokes has that list. I don't know if Don has any idea, roughly.
You want to look at it now?
You have some investment projects like the sewer extension out to 7J's where to
Don, just a little bit louder.
Don Donaldson, Deputy County Administrator. No, I can't answer it right off the cuff, but we have some large projects that in your original approval for sewer main extensions and a few other projects. So it's possible that this could swap out fairly easily, as Mr. Gordon stated. On the other hand, it may impact some of your other larger projects that you've committed to for the economic development of 7J's and a few others that you asked to help subsidize. So that's short
No,
answer.
no,
I don't
I
have
get
the
it. I
answer
just-
right now, but that's the
just
list.
having all the different options on the table would be helpful, because one thing's for sure, when we do this, we won't go back for decades and do it again, or add to it, or whatever we do, it'll be there for a long time, and we won't probably change it. And I just try to make sure that we have the best options in front of us that are available, that's all.
Bring back some.
What's the timeline on your letter with Jerry? And, I mean, are they intimately, are you,
I'd ask them. You all probably know, Rob.
Yeah, they said, I think by the end of the month, they wanted a commitment letter and this amount, again, because we can't proceed till we know what budget we're shooting for.
It was the beginning of
Can I-
November.
Can I ask a question? If we approve, so FDOT's money is, what they've set aside is what they've set aside, right? So that's not going to change. It's only whether we add something to it. So if we took the minimal option at this point, right, the 250,000 or whatever that.
Good. A good option.
Is it 250? I can't see it.
The low option, yeah.
The 250 option. If in a couple weeks or months or whatever, staff came back and said we have identified additional funds that we could do X with, could we add to it over time?
I think if we did the minimal option, the good option, it'd be difficult. Again, we're talking about construction plans we're putting together, so to revise them. Our first 60% submittal was actually 2 weeks ago, so we've pushed that out. We're going to push that out a little bit.
But Rob, every sequential dollar value, right, is either subtracting trees or subtracting grass or adding concrete. Each piece has an element to it, right?
Right.
So if we go to the $250,000 version, there's no concrete involved, right?
That's the big change. That's why we can't proceed with irrigation until we know if that concrete's in or not. So that part of it's kind of needs to be set. Things like the ponds are flexible, like if you decided to add ponds later, again, because that's just plants. So it's not a straightforward answer, sorry.
Taryn?
Yes, please. You have, your first meeting in November is November 2nd. I would be more comfortable because I've not really had a chance to wrap my head around these options that are being thrown out there. If we can come back, if that's the will of the board, if you're happy or satisfied, if there's a majority here that wants to move forward with the 250 option, that would be great, but 600,000 is I think for me, it's a heavy lift, and I'd like to better understand it, especially if we're going to use ARPA funds, because as Mr. Donaldson said, we've got some major septic to sewer projects that we've committed, or at least talked about.
Commissioner Campy?
I'd make a motion to accept the $250,000 option, taking, if doable, the funding source would be the first-year maintenance of the FEC railroad crossings that will be replaced and be brand new for the first year.
I'll second that, and this is something we can also, once it's installed, have phase two of if we come up with some additional funds somewhere. If we see some, at that point, we can actually see some if we've got some deficiencies and do another enhancement
So
project.
you're saying that we could incorporate it within the project? No.
No, I'm saying,
When you say
let's
we
give
could do a
Rob the
phase-
okay to start the $250 option. He works with DOT, they schedule it, they get it done, it's done. At that point, we see some deficiencies that we want to add some hardscape, we want to add some additional planting or whatever we're doing, we just create a project and we do it, right?
Okay.
Maybe 2 or 3 years from now, but, yeah.
I'm not, you're the expert, so I didn't know if you could phase in.
I'm not an
later on
expert
down
on
the
DOT
line.
at all, but I don't see him shaking his head no, so, yeah.
Again,
Okay.
the bonds could be phased in, or that's
Yeah.
an option.
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Smith?
Just one more thought. So Rob, if the concrete is one of the defining issues, can we not have option B plan so the irrigation is done, laid out, and designed around a concrete option that doesn't exist yet? And if we want to go back in, we're not ripping up tens of thousands of dollars worth of irrigation to put in concrete if we chose to go back 5 years from now and do that. I don't think we ever will. I don't think we'll ever touch this thing again. But I'm just saying, couldn't you have like the $250,000 option and then option B in the plans would be, if you were to carry out option B, here's what would be done and here would be what would be required.
Yeah, to add the concrete later, the problem I see with that is we're doing minimal concrete as it is. It's only 18 inches against the curbs and only 30 inches as it crosses. It does not go out into the separator, so it's minimal. So you don't want to leave just that little bit of mulch space. You know, you would, if we're going to go without that at all, then it's going to be much bigger. Areas big enough to get a mower through. You can't get a mower through 18 inches or 30 inches. So then we would have the option I'm seeing if you go with 250,000 again is just islands of shrubs within grass areas. So you're mowing around. It's a little bit of both. And so that's the option I would think we would propose. And again, we'll meet with Jim and his group and we'll get your priorities down and try to spend the money as wisely to get as many of the things you want.
And taking out the retention area planting we talked about,
that could
reapplying
that
it
could
to
stay or
something
go.
that's more impactful.
Go towards the median.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
the retention.
Yeah, I think that's,
Again, some numbers, other things like an oak tree, you could do a 6-inch caliper oak tree and that's a $2,000 tree. I can give you a 30-gallon oak tree that's a 2.5-inch caliper, that's a $300 tree. So landscape is very scalable. Maybe you say do it all, but we'll just wait a few years till this grows in. That's an option.
yeah, I like that.
It's good to know. Commissioner Campy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would alter my motion to direct staff that the plantings around the lake beds be postponed and use those funds as staff sees appropriate into the median. And then just a editorial, the concrete that we're discussing is not sidewalk enhancements and things. They're meant to offer maintenance for our staff.
Right.
I also think that, having them on Martin Highway, which is a busy road, but not near as busy as the road we're discussing now, it also makes people believe that they should leave the sidewalk and go into the medians. People use them as like a crossing point. I see that happening in Palm City, and they're not meant to be that. There's a couple that are wider, but I don't see the loss of the concrete as like detrimental to the project. It was more of a maintenance platform for enhanced landscaping. They're flat. If you're driving by, you'd barely notice.
And that's why it zigs back and forth, so it does not appear like you can walk continuous. We don't want people to even think it does. They figure it out.
Well, in Palm City, we thought they were clever sidewalks. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've used them. I've crossed the street mid-span, allegedly, because I thought that was sidewalks. If you're a layperson, you're not familiar with the industry or maintenance techniques, you assume that they're there. So I think not having them would actually be a benefit.
Okay, does the seconder agree to that amendment? Okay. Seeing no other lights on or comments, we do have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Campy, and that motion was seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Hurd dissenting.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for lively discussion. And now we are going to take our end of the meeting public comment. Is there anybody that wishes to make public comment? Okay, seeing none, then we will take commissioner comments. Commissioner Jenkins.
So our hometown festival in Hope Sound is this weekend on the 23rd at Doc Myers Park in Hope Sound. It is from 10 to 4 p.m. I previously announced giving some district funds to that effort for transportation. I need to alter that a little bit. So only $450 now will be spent on shuttles. I'm shifting $600 to of the district funds to pay for off-duty deputies to help with traffic and safety during the event. So I don't remember. I think it was $2,000 I was originally going to. So now we're down to $1,000. So yeah, thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Campy?
I have none, thank you.
I'm set.
Ms. Krista?
Yes, I was asked to clarify some comments that were made earlier. On the warrant list that is on your consent agenda, the clerk has put that on there based on her interpretation, as we had a new clerk come in, of the Florida state statutes. That warrant list, if you go on and you look at the item itself, when you're looking at the agenda, yes, you don't have any detail. But if you pull up the item itself, it tells you explicitly how to get to those items. So if there's a need for anyone to look at those items individually, they are available. Every single check that you personally, as the chair, sign off on is showing on that website. So to make it seem like you all are not, as commissioners, are not aware of what's going on, this is day-to-day transactions. We do transactions every day. We have payroll, we have vendors, all that. So it's all there. So if anybody would like any further information, I'm happy to present it to them.
Okay. Thank you.
I was just going to add, and it's important, as we all understand, that all expenditures are made pursuant to your budget. And so all of that is done during our most recently concluded multiple public hearings where we discuss that, and then there's workshops before that. So there's a lot of opportunity, should citizens be interested, to attend those hearings and to inform themselves on all of those items. Thanks.
And could you just add to the consent items that are presented, although they're on the consent agenda, all the backup data is presented in the meeting packet.
In the item itself, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. As is, you approved over $8 million worth of grants today. The information for that is all included.
Okay, great. And with that, our upcoming meetings are November 2nd is a regular meeting, and November 16th is our regular meeting and reorganization. So hope everyone has a fabulous day, and we are adjourned.